So if lay people can attain enlightenment and monks can attain enlightenment, then certainly the lay people do not need to give up as much as the monks need to give up. And that's wrong. The lay people need to give up exactly as much as the monks need to give up in order to become enlightened. And that's why it is so rare for lay people to become enlightened. Because to give up in lay life to the extent that monk gives up is very, very rare and extremely, extremely difficult. So there are fortunate lay people, you know, who just stay at home and they do not need to worry about money. They do not need to worry about their family. They do not need to do anything particularly difficult to follow the precepts. They have enough time to meditate. Okay, so then they meditate. Then if they have the opportunity to give up all of the idea that they are the important person for the family, that they need to go to job, that they need to have to make money, that they need to have this degree, or that they need to be present in the house. If they can give up this idea of ego, of self, to the extent where a monk can give it up, then they can become enlightened. But there is never a difference in the amount of giving up that's needed for enlightenment between a layperson or a monk. So how much you need to give up, even for the first level of enlightenment, you need to give up everything. Your greed and hatred and ignorance must be entirely destroyed for that moment when you are coming to enlightenment. When you are at the doorstep of enlightenment, you do not know whether you are going to attain full enlightenment or no enlightenment, or what's going to happen to you. You don't know. You are just there observing the arising and passing phenomena. That's all what you know. And you're not interested in anything else in the world, because you are just there entirely immersed in the present moment, in the reality of present moment. So you don't care about the future, you don't care about the past, you don't worry about the future or the past. No, you're just there in the present moment, observing, passing, arising and passing, enthusiastically, curiously. You're so immersed in that present moment. And in that present moment, when you're observing this arising and passing, there arises the clear vision, the clear understanding that both this body and the mind arise and pass. So there is nothing permanent. And with this vision arises fear. The fear is part of the path. The fear that if you let go of this idea of self, then your degree, your family, your ability to enjoy sensual pleasures or anything else is gone, because you are gone. So the fear of letting go of self is very, very powerful. And for anybody who has just a little bit of greed, there is no way for ill will to arise. Like, ill will is so coarse, there's just no way how you would ever need to deal with ill will during this kind of moment. But greed, clinging, attachment, the word craving, this is the main word. Craving is that what holds you from letting go of this self. And for letting go of this self, you need to let go of all craving. There must not be even as little bit as a speck of dust of craving in you if you are going to attain enlightenment. Enlightenment is only for those who are entirely free from all craving at that moment. Some craving may arise later because the wisdom is not enough deep, but for this moment when you're observing arising, passing, right there at the doorstep of enlightenment, there must be no craving at all. And this is same for every living being, regardless whether it's a layperson or a monk, a human or a divine being. For every being, there must be not a single speck of dust amount of craving. So all greed, hatred, ignorance must be entirely eradicated for that moment when somebody becomes enlightened. And in lay life, this is very difficult because a layperson is responsible for their family. They're responsible for their house, for their car. They're responsible for their job, for their money, and so on and so on. So to get rid of all that craving is very, very rare in lay life. Yeah, so delusion, you need to distinguish delusion with ignorance. So moha, delusion, ignorance, avidya. They're slightly different. Now, delusion is more of a mental state, whereas ignorance is the level of your wisdom. So somebody can be ignorant throughout their life, but there may be deluded sometimes and sometimes not. So moha needs to be compared and contrasted with avidya. So moha is the basis for all defilements. So if you are ever considering moha, if you are ever observing moha in your mind, always observe moha in terms of lack of mindfulness. So if there is a lot of mindfulness, then there is a little bit of moha. If there is a little bit of mindfulness, then there is too much of moha, of delusion. So always compare moha with mindfulness, with sati also. So sati would be the opposite mental state for moha. Sati is also known as amoha, the absence of moha.